Hello and welcome. We're going to dive into a question that really gets to the heart of faith and legacy. Is righteousness something you can inherit, like a family heirloom? Or is it something deeply, deeply personal, a path that every single person has to walk for themselves? Let's find out.
So just think about this for a second. If you were the son or the daughter or the spouse of a prophet, one of the most revered people in history, does that give you an automatic pass? Does that make you righteous by default? It's an idea a lot of people just assume is true. But today, we're going to put it to the test.
All right, here's our game plan. We'll kick things off with the myth of inherited piety. Then we'll look at the families of the prophets themselves, a fascinating test case. After that, we'll check out the prophet's own companions, pull a really powerful lesson from the story of Moses, and finally, get to the Quran's definitive verdict on the whole thing.
Okay, so let's start at the very beginning with this core idea we're digging into today, this myth of inherited piety.
So this is the big assumption, right? That goodness or piety can be passed down through your bloodline, or maybe you can just get it by getting physically close to someone who's really holy. It's a nice thought, it's comforting, but as we're about to see, the source material paints a very, very different picture.
So what's the best way to really test this idea? Well, you go to the ultimate case study, the families of the prophets themselves. If anyone had a claim to inherited righteousness, it would have to be them, right?
And wow, when you look at the evidence presented in the Quran, it's pretty stunning. It's so explicit. We're told about Prophet Noah's wife, and even his own son, who the Quran says was of evil conduct. And then you've got Prophet Abraham. We're told most of his descendants actually strayed from the righteous path. This just completely challenges that whole idea of piety through lineage.
And this comparison, it just drives the point home perfectly. On one side, you have the wife of Pharaoh, who is one of the biggest tyrants you can imagine, yet she's held up as a model of righteousness. And on the other side, the wife of Prophet Noah, who, even though she was married to a prophet, is counted among the unrighteous. The takeaway is so clear. It had nothing to do with who their husbands were. It was all about their own individual choices.
This verse is absolutely foundational. When Prophet Abraham asks God for his descendants to be leaders, God's response is, it's crystal clear. The promise, the covenant, it's conditional. It doesn't just automatically get passed on to people who do wrong. So from the very beginning, individual merit was always the standard. Okay, so we've looked at family. Now let's widen that circle out a bit to the Prophet Muhammad's own companions and the people living in his time. These are the people who saw him, heard him, lived right alongside him. Surely they were all righteous, weren't they?
Well, once again, the Quran paints a picture of stark contrast. Yes, absolutely, there were these incredibly righteous companions, strong, compassionate, completely devoted. But living right there among them was a whole other group, the hypocrites. And the description is harsh, worst in disbelief and hypocrisy, people who stirred up trouble while claiming they were making peace. Just being near the prophet was clearly no guarantee of a pure heart.
Just let this sink in for a moment. This is a truly staggering statement. God is speaking directly to the prophet and telling him there are hypocrites right in your midst, people living around you, and you don't even know who they are. We know them.
And that, right there, leads us to a huge, critical question. If the prophet himself, the man receiving divine revelation, couldn't always identify every single hypocrite, what does that say about us, centuries later, trying to declare with absolute certainty who was righteous and who wasn't back then? It really suggests that making those kinds of judgments is just beyond us.
This whole principle is hammered home by a really powerful story from history. The story of Moses and his people gives us this timeless lesson about how fragile faith can be and just how important individual strength is.
40! Just 40 nights! What could possibly happen in only 40 nights?
It's almost unbelievable when you think about it. This was the community that had literally seen mind-blowing miracles, the plagues, the parting of the sea. They had a prophet leading them, and yet Moses is gone for just 40 nights, and they completely turn their backs and start worshiping a golden calf.
This timeline just shows how fast things can go wrong. Witnessing miracles didn't make them immune to falsehood. Having a prophet for a leader didn't stop them from having this catastrophic failure of faith, and even after they were forgiven, some of them still kept doing wrong. It's such a sobering reminder that faith is something you have to actively work on every single day as an individual.
So, After looking at the Prophet's families, his companions, and these big lessons from history, what's the bottom line? What is the Quran's final, ultimate verdict on all of this?
It all boils down to this: individual accountability. Every single soul is responsible for its own actions. Righteousness isn't a family name. It's not a title you can just pass down. It is a personal state that you have to earn through your own conduct, period. And this verse just lays it all out, plain and simple. Those people from the past, their deeds belong to them. What you earn, that's on you. You're not going to be asked about what they used to do. It draws a clear line in the sand. You can't just ride on the coattails of your ancestors, no matter how amazing they were.
And here we have this final, incredibly humbling instruction. Don't go around declaring yourselves pure. Don't claim a special level of piety for yourself or even for others based on what you see on the outside or who they're related to. And why not? Because only God truly knows who is pious. He is the one who is best aware. Because at the end of the day, that's where true righteousness lives, in the heart. A person's sincerity, their faith, that's all in the heart. And the secrets of the heart are known only to God. It's a place where we, as humans, just shouldn't try to make the final call.
And so that leaves us with one last really big question to think about. If righteousness is ultimately this private matter between a soul and God, a secret of the heart, what does that ask of us? How should that change the way we see ourselves, our history, and even how we see each other?
And just so you know, the analysis in this explainer is based on the research found in the article Righteousness Based on Lineage by Joseph A. Islam over at QuransMessage.com.
Thank you so much for joining us for this deep dive. I really hope it gave you some valuable perspective on this incredibly important topic. We'll see you next time.